So it's 2025. You're probably still sifting through endless Netflix recommendations, wondering, how did I miss that one last year? Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. Some of Netflix's biggest 2024 titles slipped under the radar for a lot of folks, especially with everyone doom-scrolling social media or rewatching old classics. But guess what? Those movies racked up astronomical view counts, while half the planet was busy ignoring them or roasting them on the internet. Because as we all know, nothing says hot topic quite like a social media takedown. But hey, maybe you're the type of person who loves a good late-night binge, sifting through all the flicks you should have caught last year. If so, consider this your official cheat sheet. We're spotlighting 10 Netflix smash hits from 2024 that you might have blinked and missed. So strap in, because some of these picks are shockingly good, while others are just plain shocking. Let's dive into the cinematic chaos we collectively lived through and occasionally skipped last year. Kicking things off with Atlas, starring Jennifer Lopez as a counterintelligence specialist who hates artificial intelligence almost as much as I hate surprise dental appointments. Set in a not-so-distant future where humans and AI duke it out for control, Atlas tries to capture a rogue robot but ends up, wouldn't you know it, teaming up with an AI mecha suit just to survive. Now, rumor has it that production drama involved everything from last-minute rewrites to borderline comedic stunt mishaps. But apparently that only fueled curiosity, because the movie grabbed 72.7 million views within its first month. Did critics love it? Not exactly. Some complained that the sci-fi storyline felt stitched together from recycled tropes. But the unstoppable force that is J.Lo can carry just about anything on her shoulders, including a giant mechanical exoskeleton, it seems. If you overlooked this one in 2024, maybe because you thought, been there, done that, it's worth a second glance if you're into flashy action scenes, a sprinkle of dystopian paranoia, and the prospect of seeing Jennifer Lopez battling futuristic robots. What's not to love? Next, we do a complete 180 from futuristic robots to a gripping real-life survival story, Society of the Snow, directed by J.A. Bayona. Think about it. 1 minute you're watching AI rebels, the next you're stuck in 1972 with survivors of a tragic plane crash in the Andes Mountains. Talk about cinematic whiplash. But that didn't stop this film from nabbing 75 million views in its first 4 weeks. Pretty impressive for a survival drama without any A-list celebs attached. The raw storytelling is the real star here. You get bone-chilling cold, horrific isolation, and impossible moral decisions, all played out by actors who capture that terror beautifully. Critics mostly praised its authenticity, though a few squeamish viewers said some scenes were too intense. Personally, I think you can't accurately depict a near-fatal plane crash with dainty fade-outs. If you missed it in 2024 because you thought it might be too depressing, well, it's definitely heavy. But trust me, you'll walk away with a renewed appreciation for your climate-controlled apartment. Ready for a tonal swerve back into comedic territory? A Family Affair has you covered, starring Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron, and Joey King, in a rom-com that somehow still snatched 75.8 million views. How did a predictably formulaic rom-com become such a juggernaut? The star power didn't hurt. Plus, there were rumors floating around that real-life hijinks on set made for great press. Allegedly, a few scenes needed multiple reshoots because the cast just couldn't keep a straight face. Now, does the film basically recycle every rom-com cliché under the sun? Absolutely. But sometimes you just need that comfort watch vibe, like a warm blanket on a chilly night. If you're a cynic who wants every comedy to reinvent the wheel, you might roll your eyes. But if you missed it last year, maybe it's time to indulge, especially if you want to see Nicole Kidman attempt comedic slapstick, which is not something you get every day. Speaking of nostalgic blast, let's talk Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., starring Eddie Murphy reprising his iconic role like it's 1984 all over again. The film's plot? Axel comes back to Beverly Hills to protect his estranged daughter from a dangerous crime syndicate. Cue classic wisecracks, high-speed chases, and that unmistakable theme song that's been stuck in our heads since VHS tapes were a thing. It roped in 76 million views during its first month. Pretty hefty for something that relies so heavily on nostalgia. Critics were split. Half adored the throwback vibe, half moaned that it was pandering. Were there cameo overloads? Let's just say you can practically hear the crowd cheering each time a legacy character shows up. If you skipped it last year thinking, I'm so over reboots, that's fair. But if you want a fun ride that doesn't take itself too seriously, file this under surprisingly entertaining blasts from the past. Now let's sink our teeth into Under Paris. Yes, the shark movie set in the Seine River. Because apparently the only thing that can upstage a tourist's selfie with the Eiffel Tower is a giant fin slicing through the water. It snagged a jaw-dropping 84.6 million views in 4 weeks, proving that folks still love a good creature feature, especially one that plops you right into a city better known for romance than ravenous sharks. Environmental undertones are sprinkled throughout the story, hinting that maybe humans are the real monsters messing with ecosystems. Deep stuff, right? But if I'm being honest, most viewers probably tuned in for the unstoppable tension of a man-eating beast. Regardless, you might have bypassed this fishy flick last year because, well, shark in a European river sounds ridiculously over the top. But hey, sometimes over the top is exactly what your Netflix queue needs. And trust me, the suspense is real, no matter how absurd the premise sounds. Next on the Missed It list is where Kevin Hart plays a master burglar plotting to heist $500 million in gold from a passenger plane. Yes, you read that right. Kevin Hart, who's usually busy cracking jokes about his height, is now an action hero leading a mid-air robbery. Yet it pulled 95 million viewers. Clearly, the formula of comedy meets high-stakes heist works. Critics weren't all in love, calling the storyline painfully predictable. But who needs a groundbreaking plot when you've got comedic timing and heart-stopping set pieces? Rumor has it, the budget ballooned due to some truly insane aerial stunts that might have tested even Tom Cruise's nerves. Skipped it last year because it sounded too gimmicky? You might want to reconsider because the comedic banter alone is worth at least one watch, especially if you're in the mood for an adrenaline rush that doesn't require leaving your couch. If you're craving something more grounded and gritty, say hello to Rebel Ridge. It topped out at 95.4 million views, and for good reason. Aaron Pierre plays an ex-soldier who walks into a small town only to find corruption as thick as the local barbecue sauce. The rumor mill says the film underwent last-minute script changes to ramp up tension, and it shows. Each scene crackles with that uneasy energy like you're waiting for a powder keg to blow. While it has its share of action, Rebel Ridge leans heavily on emotional and social commentary. Kind of a rarity in the punch first, ask questions never style of action flicks we often see on streaming platforms. If you gave it a pass last year because you assumed it was just another gunslinging shoot-'em-up, you might be missing a deeper narrative about how small-town politics can be just as brutal as any war zone. Think of it as a what if this really happened scenario, and it's pretty sobering. For those who prefer something breezy, check out The Union, starring Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry in a comedic spy caper. It soared to 98.8 million views, riding on the charm of its A-list leads. The plot? Wahlberg is a blue-collar maintenance worker who gets roped into top-secret espionage when Halle Berry's character, an elite spy, reappears in his life. Add some comedic friction, a few chase sequences, and you've got a watchable popcorn flick. Word on the street says the comedic dialogue was initially too dry, prompting some frantic rewrites during filming. Whether that's true or just internet gossip is anybody's guess, but the end result is a fun, if predictable, ride. Did you skip it thinking, meh, another buddy spy flick? You're not wrong, but sometimes a little fun formula is all you need for a Saturday night. Besides, the chemistry between Wahlberg and Berry makes up for the story's predictability, most of the time. Let's shift gears to fantasy with Damsel, starring Millie Bobby Brown as a young woman who thinks she's marrying a prince but ends up as a literal sacrifice to a dragon. I mean, talk about buyer's remorse. This flick grabbed 115.6 million views, becoming Netflix's 8th most-watched original in 2024. Critics said it was tropey, but fans seem to dig the sword-wielding twist on a classic fairy tale formula. Plus, the CGI is top-notch. Rumor has it the effects budget was sky-high, and Millie apparently did quite a few of her own stunts. If you skipped it last year thinking it looked too teen fantasy, you might want to give it a shot. It's got surprisingly intense action, and the dragon scenes are cinematic eye candy. Besides, who doesn't love a good break-the-patriarchy storyline? If you're in the mood for a sassy spin on the damsel in distress trope, this is definitely one to queue up. Finally, the reigning champion of 2024's Netflix phenomenon, Carry On, featuring Taron Egerton as Ethan Kopp, a TSA agent coerced into letting a lethal item slip through airport security on Christmas Eve. Add Jason Bateman into the mix as the shadowy traveler, and you've got a relentless cat-and-mouse thriller that soared to 149.5 million views. People say the flick moves at breakneck speed, so if you're prone to motion sickness, maybe keep some Dramamine handy. Critics and viewers both pointed out the characters could have used more depth, but apparently nobody cared once the suspense kicked in. Rumor has it Netflix splurged on a massive marketing push. Billboards, social media blitzes, maybe even drones dropping leaflets from the sky for all we know. Whatever they did, it worked. If you missed it in 2024 because you were distracted by holiday chaos, or let's be honest, wrapping random gifts you forgot to buy earlier, give it a shot now. It's got just enough tension, twists, and big-name stars to keep you from dozing off. So there you have it. 10 Netflix movies from 2024 that you might have missed, overlooked, or side-eyed with skepticism. Now that we're in 2025, you can sit back and play catch-up. Maybe you'll fall in love with one of these flicks. Maybe you'll hate them all and blame me for wasting your precious binge hours. Either way, at least now you'll know what half the internet was shouting about in 2024. If you do give any of these a shot, drop a comment, or a complaint, or a full-blown rant, you do you. And don't forget to subscribe for more delightfully snarky takes on the latest and sometimes greatest streaming gems. Thanks for hanging out, and here's to discovering more random Netflix gold in 2025.